it's Sabine again with another episode of Beanie Bits. Today's question is, what about conditioning? And no, I'm not talking about the conditioner for your hair. I'm talking about how are we conditioned, right? Growing up, it's like, what was the conditioning? And right these days, sadly, mostly we're conditioned to look for the negative, to pay attention to the negative, to the naysayers, to the whining, to the complaining, and we fall in line with it. We hear somebody say something about something, right? Say you get approached by a certain car, for instance, they're like, hey, buy this car. And somebody told you that, oh my gosh, they have the worst cars ever and you should never get one of those, we're like, oh, okay. And then we stay away from those cars. We don't question why we should stay away from these cars. Think about that. Or businesses or opportunities or any of that. We believe whatever they are telling us, hook, line, and sinker. It's like, oh man, somebody said, we don't ask them, it's like, how did you find out? Was it your own experience? Did you hear that from somebody? Was it a hearsay, somebody else, and then somebody else, somebody else, somebody else, The the rumor mill, haha. We're all familiar with that, right? It's like somebody starts something, but instead of questioning it, because somehow it fits into our thinking, our conditioning, our belief pattern, we believe it hook, line, and sinker. We don't question it and we spread that. We share that with somebody. It's like, oh my gosh, did you hear? Boy, don't do that, da, 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 da. All of those negative things, we don't do that, right? We believe it and we spread it on. We take it on as gospel, right? Don't do that. Don't do that. Because here's the thing, when you fall into that trap, you really are missing out on so many incredible opportunities. And I'm not just talking like regular opportunities, I'm talking about meeting people and anything that can help you move forward and get what you want, right? But you're so conditioned to listen to the negative and pay attention to that negative that you don't even start and stop. And it's like, wait, stop. No, right? It's like you believe it. You believe everything they're telling you. Don't do that. Question it. It's like, how do you, and it's okay to ask, how do you know? How do you know? Where's the proof? Everything that exists and is real can be proven. It's simple as that, right? So ask them. It's like, how do you know? And what I found once I started doing this, what I found out a lot of times people are like, well, I just know. Yeah, but how do you know? Well, I just do. Well, I understand that you do, but how do you know? Did you read it somewhere? And if you did, where did you read it? Did you hear it somewhere? Well, who told you? Right? Keep digging, because I would say about 95% of the time, if not more, the reason they're telling you what they're telling you is because somebody told them, they read it somewhere and they believed it as true. They didn't do their own research. They didn't look at, hey, is there value to it? Is it valid? Is it true? Is it false? Does it pertain to me? The thing is, because one person may have had a bad experience, doesn't mean you are going to have a bad experience. But by you believing that other person, now you're preconditioned, right? And you're like, well, it's going to be a bad experience. Well, guess what? What do you think about your bring about? So now you're going to have a bad experience. It's like, well, they were right all along. And now you tell somebody else. Stop it. Just stop it. Don't do that. It doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve anybody. Always ask, how do you know? How do you know? Can you prove that? And the other thing too is like a lot of times we read those reports, scientific, proven, blah, 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 blah. Look who funded that. That's what I do, because a lot of times it's like, oh, of course they're going this way and telling me this is all good and that, because look who funded it, right? Don't believe everything you hear, see, right? Unless you experienced it yourself firsthand and you know where the source is coming from and how reliable it is. Question it. It's okay to question it. It's your right to question it, right? It doesn't matter who the person is that's telling you that. Unless they can prove to you what they're saying is valid, you don't have to believe it. That's a choice you make. So What is your conditioning? How are you conditioned? Are you conditioned to automatically believe all the negative and go that route? Or are you conditioning yourself to say, wait a minute, stop? No, that doesn't resonate with me. It's like, this doesn't feel right within me, right? It's like, pay attention and always ask. It's like, how do you know? Kids ask it all the time. Why? How do you know? Why is it that way? Right? Do the same thing. It's your right. So, hey, that's it for today. And I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel. It's right there. Subscribe. Right? And check out the website, mattersofperspective.com. Book a discovery call with me. See how we can help each other, right? Because there's so much to just to learn, and oh my gosh, it is just so good. Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow, and y'all have a fabulous day. Bye.